Welcome into College Football Now. I am your host, Brett Alper. And on today's show, we saw earlier this morning the University of Kentucky has officially parted ways, fired, whatever you want to call it, with long-term head coach Mark Stoops after a 5-7 record. And this is the second year in a row that they've missed the bowl game, so it was time that Kentucky moved on and find a new head coach. It was a long 13 years for Stoops' UK career. He is the winningest head coach in Kentucky history, had 13 seasons at UK. Before he was fired this morning, he was the longest tenured head coach in the SEC at the moment. He had a huge run from 2016 to 2023, 8 straight bowl appearances. Finished in the AP Top 20 twice back in 2018 and also in 2021. It was a great run for Mark Stoops, and I will thank him for everything that he's done. I was at UK from 2016 to 2020, and I loved every single second of Kentucky football. It felt like we were actually part of the SEC, among the ranks of like Florida, LSU, Tennessee. But the last couple of years, it has been really bad. It was a great run for Stoops, but I think it was time, just like how it was last year or earlier this year, it was last year, with parting ways with John Calipari. I think it was time for football to part ways and move on with Mark Stoops. We'll thank him for every single moment. Like I said, I had a lot of memories, specifically that 2018 game against Florida where we won first time in like 40 years. We'll thank him for that. But show some love for Mark Stoops on his Kentucky tenure and wish him the best of luck for whatever he does. Go ahead, hit that thumbs up icon. So now let's take a look at some of the candidates that we could see possibly be head coach of the Kentucky Wildcats. The first one, it's kind of a fun one. There's really only 3 guys that Kentucky's really looking at, but let's go with 5. John Gruden is number 5 on this list, and it's kind of just for fun. I mean, this would be absolutely electric. You know that he talks about Kentucky. He was a big fan of them, and he's just a fan of football. We know that he's trying to get back into coaching. He took a job with Barstool. He's being one of those guys, but there is so quiet rumblings that he's looking to be a head coach somewhere. Now, if that's in college football or if that's in the NFL, we don't know. But Josh Pate, you guys know him as one of the big college football analysts, and he made a prediction that Gruden would be coaching in the SEC very soon. So there's an SEC job opening. We saw a lot of job openings for the SEC, but now only Kentucky. That is a good spot for him to kind of resurrect his career and get back into coaching. Now let's get to number 4. It's Dan Mullen, the head coach of UNLV. And this was rumored for a lot of times. There was rumors that Kentucky could move for Mark Stoops back in 2024, and he was one of those guys. But they kept him for the 2025 season, and now it's back on, hey, could we hire Dan Mullen? Now, would he go back to the SEC? He was very successful at Florida. He was fired 4 years ago back in 2021, and we know how good Florida has been. He also had success at Mississippi State. Could he try and get another SEC job after having a 10-2 record at UNLV? We know that UNLV is a smaller school out in the Mountain West. It's not SEC. You don't have the NIL type money. Could he try to get to Power 5 football? You know that kind of tenure, how coaches, when they get fired, they go into the lower schools and then just move their way back up. Could you poke him away from UNLV? I think I read that it's only about a $6 million buyout compared to Mark Stoops' $37 million buyout. So it would cost a little bit of money for Kentucky. But I think that it's in the back of Dan Mullen's head that he could go back to the SEC at some point. You guys tell me, will Dan Mullen return to the SEC next year? Give me a yes or give me a no. Y for yes or N for no down in the comments section. Now we're getting to the guys that we really could see Kentucky higher. And I'm going to get kind of focus in more on these 3 candidates. We got Neal Brown, the assistant of Texas. And Neal Brown has been a head coach in multiple places, but the one reason why I want to go with these next 3 guys is they all have a lot, and I mean a lot of ties to the University of Kentucky and just the Bluegrass State in general. When we're talking about Neal Brown, he was a head coach for West Virginia a couple years ago. Now with Texas as an assistant, UC Texas, they're most likely going to the college football playoff. But his ties, he's from Danville. He played at UK from 1998 to 2000. And who was Stoops' first offensive coordinator when he took the job back in 2013? Oh, yeah. It was Neal Brown back in 2013 to 14. He knows this this school. He knows his time. He could go back to this and possibly bring it back to that bowl season that we are striving for. He's also got a solid resume. I mean, 72-51 head coaching record, 5-1 in bowl games. We saw Stoops. Well, I put Stoops as 82-80 as his coaching career, but the NCAA vacated 10 wins. But I don't care. They still won those games. I think Neal Brown could be a solid guy, but these next two guys, I really think are going to be the only two candidates that Mitch Barnhart is going to look at. And we'll get to that in a second, but first, I got to tell you about our sponsor of today's show, and that is Prize Picks. You know, it's getting to the holiday season, the best time of the year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. While you and I are out here making decisions every single day on what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there is one place where it feels good to be right. Prize Picks. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 6-player stat projections. And if your picks are right, you could cash in. Did you know that Prize Picks now has early payouts? If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. And like me, I like making a lineup for some Monday night football. We got New England against New York, Boston against New York. We know that rivalry. And if I wanted to do an early payout, I could. I got Drake May, the more on 245.5 passing yards, the more on Travion Henderson, 65.5 rushing yards, and then Tyrone Tracy. I know that Milton Williams is out for New England tonight. I got his more on the rushing yards at 45.5. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, now to the final two candidates where these are the guys. These are the top two from sources, from everybody you saw on Twitter. And the first guy that we're going to talk about is Brian Hartline. And Brian Hartline, he has some ties to Kentucky, but he is the second favorite to be the head coach of the Wildcats. And he's been over at Ohio State for the last couple of years now, and he has gone his way up from just a graduate assistant at Ohio State and gone all the way up to offensive coordinator. He's been there since 2017. He's one of the top recruiters in the entire country. We want to talk about how many wide receivers that Ohio State has gotten over the past couple of years. Who is that thanks to? Brian Hartline. You can talk about Jackson Smith and Jigba. You can talk about right now Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate. All of those guys have gone to Ohio State. And also, we know all about, if you're a Kentucky fan, you know about Kentucky Sports Radio. Well, Nick Roush, who works for Kentucky Sports Radio, he had this little tidbit. He said a source close to Hartline tells KSR that if he was offered, he would 10,000% take the job. He's also had an affinity for UK dating back to his brother Mike's time at the school as their quarterback. Yes, Brian Hartline's brother Mike, if you didn't know, played quarterback at UK from 2006 to 2010. And Mike Hartline, also an analyst on the 2025 coaching staff and a key resource for our guy, Cutter Boley, this fall. Like I said, it would just be a huge boost to Kentucky's offense. We see how good Cutter Boley is and the potential that he has. He's going to be here for a long time coming. Only a redshirt freshman going into this year. Next year, he's going to get even better. And if you can get that offensive mindset of Brian Hartline, I think that they would be really successful. He's also won a national title last year. So I would not be mad if we hired Hartline. I would not be mad whatsoever. But when they do finally make a hire, whether that's tonight, tomorrow, or 3 days from now, we got you covered. So make sure you subscribe to the channel for all your college football. We got live shows for every single college football playoff rankings. So make sure you hit that sub button and don't miss out on a single thing. And the last candidate, it's the obvious favorite, and I think he's going to be hired. This is my guy. I think that it's almost really said and done, and it's Will Stein, the offensive coordinator of the Oregon Ducks. And according to On3, which also owns Kentucky Sports Radio, they said that Will Stein will get a serious, and I mean serious, look at the head coach. And a lot of Twitter accounts, a lot of those big blue blogs, they say it's already a done deal. This comes from Matt Jones. I know all of you guys know who Matt Jones is if you pay attention to UK. Two major candidates, Will Stein and Brian Hartline, both have talked to Kentucky today. Will Stein is the favorite and maybe even the choice. although I haven't confirmed it yet, and either way, it's happening quickly. A 3-person committee is picking the head coach. And then he later followed up with this one. Contrary to a couple things out there, he does not believe Will Stein has been offered yet. But there's that one thing. It won't shock me, however, if that happens soon. Hartline, definitely a possibility. And for Stein, I mean, he's been all over the place. He was been with Texas back when he first started coaching. He was been with high schools, UTSA. UTSA was one of the top offenses in the country. I remember that 2021 team that Western Kentucky played when it was Bailey Zappi against UTSA. I remember that back in the day. And then 2023 to now, he has been the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach for Oregon. Well, he was the quarterback coach when Bo Nix was at Oregon. They had one of the top offenses. Now with Dante Moore, their offense is still crazy. The points per game, they're averaging 38.2, which is 9th in the country. And then their yards per game, 465, which is 13th. And you know how I kept talking about, yeah, we like a guy that has offense. But how about a guy that loves Kentucky football? Yeah, he's from Kentucky. He did play at Louisville. L's down, but he said right here in an article from a year ago, I grew up a diehard Cats fan. Actually, my dad played there, so I went to every single game at Commonwealth Stadium. So you have the offense. You have the resume. You have the ties to Kentucky that we know Mitch Barnhart loves. So I would not be shocked if Kentucky is quickly on this decision. You got the transfer portal deadline coming up in January. You have to make a hire as quick as possible to get those transfers, to get your team ready for next season. So I think that UK is running very quickly, and I would not be shocked if they hired him tonight or even tomorrow. And you know we got you covered here on Chat Sports. But I'll ask you guys before we get on out of here, who will be the next head coach at Kentucky? I gave you 5 candidates, but you go down in the comments section and let me know. When they do make a hire, we will make a video. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's go Cats.